Hey there, everybody. It's Dr. Roto along with Adam Ronis, and today we're talking about the Cleveland Browns. Now, the NFL is great because of all the parity. You see teams that make the playoffs and haven't made it in the past, like the LA Rams had a good year. Adam, could this year be the year of the Cleveland Browns finally making the playoffs? Because I have a sneaky suspicion they might be pretty decent.
Yeah, I think they have a really good shot. We know that there is a lot of talent on this team, and people must be like, what are you talking about? They've won one game in the last 2 years. But we all know that they're better than that. Hugh Jackson has not done a good job. They're going to give him another chance. But there was an influx of talent that they brought in. They already had some talent there. And this is an intriguing team. And I think it's also a very key team for fantasy because there's a lot of parts here. And trying to figure out how it's going to work and where the fantasy numbers come from are really going to be key this year into hitting some picks.
You know, you mentioned Hugh Jackson, and I've liked Hugh Jackson in the past, and I didn't want to blame him. But I've got to say, this guy's got a very short leash. If this team starts 0-6, he may get whacked in the middle of the season because this is a team right now that I think a lot of guys out there, a lot of former head coaches would love this job.
For sure. This is not a team that was as bad as their record showed last year. They should have won way more than, 3, 4, 5 games. They should have won that many. They had opportunities. They were competitive in some, but you know how it is. When you have that losing mentality, it seeps in and you find ways to lose games. And that last game of the year where they had a shot and Corey Coleman dropped that pass, that's an image that a lot of people following the Browns remember.
All right, so let's talk about quarterback. They drafted Baker Mayfield from Oklahoma with the #1 overall pick. I had no problem with that pick. I think he's a winner. I think he's going to be uncannily accurate. And in the NFL, I just think, though, we're not going to see him for about 10 or 11 weeks because they're going to start with Tyrod Taylor. What do we know about Tyrod Taylor? He doesn't throw interceptions. The passing percentage completion rating is pretty decent, but he doesn't take a lot of chances downfield. He's more of a game manager type. How many weeks do you see Taylor starting before Baker Mayfield comes in?
Yeah, the Browns actually have a tough schedule, which is surprising considering how bad their record is. But we know a lot of it is predetermined with matching up with divisions and, of course, the divisional games. And that's going to be the big question because usually when you invest an early pick in a quarterback, especially the #1 pick overall, they play. So if you told me 10 weeks, I'm taking the under. I think you'd be in there before then. A lot of it's going to depend on how quickly they start. If this team goes 0-3, they might make the change pretty quickly. But I do think Tyrod Taylor can have some success. And that's why it goes back to what I was saying before. Trying to figure out all of this is really key because I could see Mayfield coming in week 3. I could see it being week 8, week 10. The bottom line is we know that Mayfield will be there at a certain point, which to me makes Tyrod Taylor really someone that's difficult to take in redraft leagues that are 16 rounds. Now, if you're talking to Fantasy Football World Championships 20 rounds and you want to take him late and maybe roll with him a couple matchups early, depending on who your other quarterback is, or maybe you take Jameis Winston and then you want Taylor for the first few weeks because you know he's going to be in there. But Taylor's probably a guy that's just not going to be on my fantasy teams because I don't think the leash is very long.
Yeah, I agree with you there. I think Mayfield comes in if they're 2-4, 2-5, anything like that. Hugh Jackson's job is hanging by a thread. You got to bring Mayfield in. But I think the good thing is you don't rush Mayfield because you have Taylor. So you bring Mayfield in when he's ready. And whenever ready that is, we don't know. But I agree, there are a lot of moving parts. But let's get to their running back situation. This is a three-headed hydra. Head #1, they bring in Carlos Hyde. They sign him as a free agent from San Francisco. Hyde played his college football at Ohio State, so he knows how to run in the bad weather. Part 2 of the hydra, Nick Chubb, who they draft out of Georgia. Love this kid. This kid is all power, real strong. And part 3 of the hydra is Duke Johnson, who's the third down pass catching back, but they paid him a lot of money, so they've given a whole lot of money to the running game, but there's 3 guys, and that may be one too many.
It is for sure. Now, Duke Johnson is someone I think that we all love in PPR formats. He's actually second among running backs in receptions over the last 2 years in the NFL. But what is his role going to be in this offense? They did go out and sign him. They didn't have to. They paid Hyde money, which was a little surprising. Now, in the Fantasy Football World Championships, all these guys are going within 15 picks of one another. But if I'm going to take one, I think it's Chubb. I think he has a really good chance to emerge with this job. It might be Carlos Hyde early. Hyde was not great last year. The overall numbers were good, but the yards per carry weren't great. And I think Chubb could be the guy that emerges out of this backfield, and I think he's going to be the cheapest too. So right now, and again, we're late June, this could change, but looking at the price tag right now, I'm leaning towards Chubb as the guy I want in fantasy.
One of those two guys, Hyde or Chubb, to me, will have really big fantasy value. And it's going to be the other guy, Adam, right? So let's just say that Chubb is the starter. I'm going to take Carlos Hyde in round 13 because all we need is one Chubb injury and Hyde is going to be good. Let's say they say Hyde's a starter. I'll take Chubb in round 9 or 10 because I think it's going to be like a New Orleans Saints thing, right? Kamara didn't emerge until later in the season. Maybe Nick Chubb emerges week 7 or week 8. One of those guys, you have to look for value there, and I don't think the value that we see early will be the same value as we see late.
So you're saying that one of these backs, and it's probably Chubb, because they'll probably say Hyde's the starter, they paid him, and he's the veteran. So you think that Chubb's price is going to go down over the next month?
Because it'll go down, but I think that I could get him in round 9 or 10, and by the end of the year, he's going to be round 5 or 6 value.
You had said round 13 before, and I was like, wait a second.
I'm thinking Hyde. If they name Chubb the starter,
right,
I think Hyde falls.
Okay, that's fair. So, because right now I think Chubb is right around 99 for his ADP. So that's still a decent flyer to take in that round because you're looking at a lot of running backs in that range that are not the starter at this point.
Right, but the second if they name Chubb the starter, Hyde's value plummets, and that's when you can get a bargain.
Yeah, because people want the younger player. They want the upside running back, seeing what Chubb can do in college. You know, Duke Johnson is the tough one, you know, because you're going to have to take him around 8 or 9. And it's like, is his role what he did last year? And we'll go into the wide receivers because you got Jarvis Landry there.
Yeah, exactly. And that's the problem. I will not have Duke Johnson on any team this year. I guarantee it. Because you just mentioned my guy, Jarvis Landry is going to play the slot, and he is open on virtually every pass pattern. Baker Mayfield, Tyrod Taylor, I don't care who it is, they're going to find Landry on any play.
Yeah, look, Landry needs the volume to succeed. You know, at least in what we saw in Miami, he's not a guy that's going to average, 15 yards per catch. He's in that 9 to 11 yard range. Last year, he had 161 targets. He had 100 catches. He didn't even have 1,000 yards. Now, he had a career high in touchdowns. I think it was 8 or 9. And the first few years in the league, he never had more than 5. So he needs that volume. Are you convinced, though, that he's going to get it in this offense since there's so many weapons? You're seeing Landry and Gordon go both in the 3rd round right now, or 3rd to 4th round. I think Gordon's going in the 3rd in Fantasy Football World Championships, Landry in the 4th. Is there enough in this offense for both those guys to be top 24 wide receivers?
I'm going to tell you, and I could be wrong, I think Josh Gordon has bust potential this year. And I'll tell you why. You have to feed Landry. Landry gets 6 to 7 receptions a game. I think Duke Johnson gets 3 to 4. That means Josh Gordon is not getting 10 to 12 targets a game. There's no way that happens. He's going to see the #1 cover guy. So, and then plus you have all these other weapons. So I think Gordon is seeing 6 to 8 targets a game, giving him 4 to 6 catches a game. I don't think he's a 3rd round pick.
That's fair. Now, Tyrod Taylor, as we mentioned, probably not going to stick for the year. But the one thing Tyrod likes to do is take those shots deep. And we saw last year, you cannot look at the numbers with Gordon because if you watch those games, he was open. He was beating defensive backs, which I was a little surprised about. With all that time that he had off, he was beating defensive backs, but DeShone Kizer could not get him the ball.
I think Gordon is going to have a better year in a best ball league because he can go 3 for 84 and a touchdown. But I think on a weekly league, is he going to put up 150 yards and 2 touchdowns? I don't know, but I think he has 3 or 4 big games this year. Tyrod, Mayfield, somebody finds him. I just don't know if it's going to be consistent enough.
Yeah, and people love Josh Gordon. There's always going to be 2 to 3 people in your draft who are going to reach on Josh Gordon. They remember the big seasons that he's had. They see the chiseled body. I don't know if you've seen him. Guy is ripped. And people just want Josh Gordon in fantasy, and that's why the price tag is high. I could see potentially taking him on the 4th round, depending on what I start with.
I would agree with that, but I don't think he'll be there. So I think it's one of those, how sometimes I know I'm not going to get a guy. I know I'm not getting Josh Gordon because I'm not taking him till round 4, and I don't think he's going to be there in round 4.
Do you take Landry in round 3, or 4 is where you like him?
I love him in 4. I'll take him right 311 or 312. I'm not taking him at like 36, 37. No way.
Baker Mayfield is probably better for Landry, though, right? Because
Much better for Landry.
Right, more accurate.
I mean, he's going to turn, boom, and the ball will be right there. So, I mean, I have Landry in a keeper league, in a dynasty league. I can't wait for Mayfield to be there. We haven't talked about Antonio Callaway. This guy's a knucklehead, but he's a real good player. Corey Coleman is still there. There's some depth at receiver.
Yeah, we're hearing that Corey Coleman is someone that they're not enamored with. They're not really happy with him, and he's a name that could be traded. We know there's a few teams that need wide receivers. So I think Coleman, if you're drafting right now, is kind of off the board because you don't know what's going to happen with him. I think Callaway, as you said, he's the interesting name. Didn't play last year, had some off-the-field issues, but I think they pegged this guy as the third wide receiver. And he's someone, when you're talking, 20-round draft, maybe not now, but as we get closer to training camp and we see how things pan out, and if they do move Coleman, I think Callaway's a name you're going to be looking at late.
I think Coleman is a really cagey pick. If I'm picking in a 20-round draft in the next month, I may take Coleman around 18, 19, or 20 because I don't think he's going to be with Cleveland. But what if he goes to Dallas? Are you telling me that he won't be a guy out there who's starting with Allen Hurns and Gallup and Corey Coleman? I think there are a lot of places that he could fit. I might take a flyer on him late in drafts.
Yeah, and obviously now you can get him at good value. Dallas is a team that receiver, maybe Buffalo. I know that's a disastrous offense, but it's all about opportunity in fantasy football. And his role in Cleveland right now, not much opportunity. If you go on to a team like Buffalo, obviously a lot of targets open up.
I love that fit, by the way. He even goes Josh Allen with that kind of arm throwing to Corey Coleman. I love it. All right, let's take a look at their last player there, David Njoku. Tight ends usually take 3 years to become real good NFL players. We saw sparks from Njoku. I would think in year 2, we're ready to take the next step up, but I'm not going to feel comfortable if he's my tight end in fantasy football this year.
You don't want him to be your starter. As a backup tight end, yes, because there is upside there. He's very athletic. We started to see it late in the year. Again, though, as I look at this offense, we all like the talent. We like the players, but this is fantasy. We need numbers. Where are the numbers? You can't go, well, this guy's great. This guy's great. I like this guy. That's my only issue. But I do think, tight end is not a position of a lot of depth. We know we have the top tier guys, but Njoku I would take as a tight end too. But I'm afraid, though, people are excited about the Browns. I'm afraid the price might rise a little bit on him.
But you know what I like about him? I like him in half-point PPR and standard leagues. He's a big dude.
Yes.
He's not a goal line guy. Josh Gordon's not a red zone guy. Njoku might be their red zone guy.
Yeah, no, he could be, especially play action. Look to him. So, yes, Landry has not been a red zone guy, even though he scored the touchdowns last year. He's not the prototypical big wide receiver. So that is a spot for Njoku. And certainly as a tight end, too, I will take him. I don't want him to be my starter.
All right, prediction. Cleveland Browns, 8-8 or better?
I will say, well, that's tough because the AFC is kind of bad. You got those 3 bad teams in the AFC East. I will say I'll take the under. I'm rooting for it, but I'm going to take the under 8. The schedule's
right there. I think it could be 8-8 this year.
No, I wouldn't be surprised at all. I mean, I think we all want to see it. The talent is certainly there. There's a lot in place. It's going to come down. Can they come together as a cohesive unit? And how is the quarterback situation going to pan out?
Yeah, when I think about it, I just don't see Tyrod Taylor with 4,000 yards. I just, as good as their offense is and as good as the players are, I just don't see Tyrod Taylor getting 4,000 yards passing.
No, I think they're going to want to run the football too, and it's going to be what they try to do. They obviously couldn't do it last year because they're playing from behind so much. I think they're going to try and come out and establish the run and hope that they can play with the lead in some games.
All right, but if you're looking for a cohesive unit, I want you to go to scoutfantasysports.com. You've got me, you've got Adam Ronis, you got Sean Childs. We're a cohesive unit trying to give you the best fantasy football knowledge. And you take that knowledge and you go to playffwc.com and you join one of our online championships, best ball leagues, or the Fantasy Football World Championship. All right, guys, this is Dr. Roto along with Adam Ronis saying be well and take care.